the homework that I gave everybody was this here, and I've just trimmed down the to the emotions on the left hand side here. Okay, so I've adjusted this document slightly just so that I could explain it a little bit easier to you right now. But ultimately, this document is going to be a living document, and it really becomes the heart of everything that you do with the strategy moving forward. It's the basis that we build everything out around. We're going to craft our offer out of what we learned from this, our messaging out of what we learned from this, our pricing, and we're going to be able to communicate, attract, and activate our audience using the information that is in this document. Now, one thing that's really important is that when you understand that you get quality information into this document, you're going to get quality information back out of this. The opposite is true. Crap in, crap out. Okay. So this is a living document. I'm going to, hopefully if we have time, we might have to do this one a couple hours today to get through this, because it's really important that you understand how to find that quality to get it back into the document. But at least for today, what we're going to do is that I'm going to show you how to answer every one of these questions here from your own experience and knowledge. And that's going to give you a jump start on this. And then I'm going to go show you how to find your audience and have them answer these questions for you. Having your audience answer these questions is really important because you're using their language that they understand. And if you're using your responses, you're normally really close to the solution to this. We call that internal language. And a lot of people won't understand this. Back when I was doing e-commerce software development, when I said, oh, I'm an e-commerce developer, it'd go right over people's head. They had no idea what in the world that meant. I thought everybody knew what e-commerce meant. So you don't want to use your language. And for this reason, this is why a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to speak to my audience. I can help other people, but I can't help myself. And it's because you're too close to the situation. Whereas for other people, you know what comes to mind immediately. So what we're going to do is dive through this. There's a lot of complexities to this document. It's a living document. You may work out of this day in and day out. I know I do. So target audience. I'm going to run through this, and then I'm going to go ahead and answer questions at the end because I want to try to get through this as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we'll be here for 6 hours. For target audience, the first thing that you're going to do when dealing with this document is go ahead and list out everything that you are dealing with or would consider. And I'm just going to grab some random stuff and plug it into this document. So my document is not going to be very well aligned because I'm just going to grab examples and fill it in. You need to make sure that the persona, the ideal customer that you are starting with is the one that you're ending with. You certainly do not want to be talking about one avatar's emotional pains and another customer's emotional fears and worries. Okay, it needs to be very congruent and very consistent throughout so that you can dive in and answer these. This is why it comes into the niche matrix, that it's very important that you know the emotions of your niche. Everything that we do from here on out is going to be very, very, very emotion centric. So we're going to be focusing on really speaking to the emotions that start strumming the chords of the heart to get these people to activate. The two main emotions throughout anything that get people to buy are pain and fear. And that's why we're digging into so many pain-based emotions in here, because we want to write copy that applies to that. So for target audience, let's assume that I'm targeting some service professionals. So I would go, I'm just going to type in service professional. Let's say I'm offering some type of marketing advice. So I might do licensed professional. Let me see here. I might do, well, for my example, I do client-based businesses. I might dig in a little deeper on my target audience and say roofers, plumbers, chiros, physicians, and dig in like that. So I'm going to brainstorm all of this out. I know for a fact that there's some marketing companies out there that just focus on serving physicians or chiropractors or even real estate agents. Okay. So digging in and picking out a very specific target audience is going to be very important. Now, what I don't want you to worry about, and I don't want you to handicap yourself with, is thinking that there's not going to be a plethora of leads out there available. The way method that I'm going to show you is to be able to go find these individuals where they congregate online and speak to thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them at the same time. So leads are not going to be a problem. Do not worry about niching down very, very specific to something like aviation business owners, where there's like 10,000 available in the United States. I will show you how to get in front of them. So here we go. Now, after you've listed this out and brainstormed along on your own document, you might pick one out and say, okay, I'm going to focus specifically on real estate agents. Next, desire. There's something that we call heaven and hell, angels and demons. When we're working on the through this buyer's journey, we want to find the heaven that our target audience wants to live in. This is a personal and emotional heaven. So don't stub your toe and stop where you say, well, they just want more money. Why do they want more money? Dig into the personal emotional goals that your ideal customer is going for and the lifestyle that they want. Most people are going to fall into about 4 ultimate desires. They want freedom of time, freedom of money, they want to be happy, and they want to work with the people that they want to work with, and that sort of thing. Okay, so go ahead and list out here all the desires, whether these are deep emotional or whether they're just surface level. Go ahead and list them all out here. All right, I'm going to go jump to the next one, and the external problems. So for the external problems, these are the external problems that are preventing them from accomplishing that ultimate desire. So if they want to live a life of joy and happiness, and they want to be fit and feel good about themselves, if that's their ultimate desire, the external problem in weight loss could be something where they're not eating right. So you might dig a little deeper and say, okay, why aren't they eating right? Maybe they don't have the money or the time to focus on accomplishing that fit body that they're shooting for, something like that. These are external problems, not emotional. They're physical external problems that are preventing them from reaching their desire. So when we're going through, I'm going to get into this later, identifying the statements when we get into messaging. So don't necessarily worry about this right now. Otherwise, you're going to be changing it and changing it and changing it all the time. So let's just focus on the brainstorming aspect right now. And you don't have to necessarily worry about whether or not you're correct, because we're going to go test all of these answers and we're going to find out if we're correct, and we're going to go find out what our ideal customers say so that we can reincorporate it back into this document to write the correct kind of sales copy and communicate. So the next one is emotional pain. This is absolutely the most important thing in everything that we're doing. Finding the pain that your customers or clients are dealing with, and really uncovering that bandage and just scrubbing it with sandpaper. You want to irritate this pain to the nth degree. Okay, the problem is one thing, but if you're just speaking with your client and you say, "Oh, so you're broken up, so he broke up with you," that's just the problem. That's not going to get them to anchor in that problem and re-agitate it. If you want to get any client into a buying mood, you need to find the pain and get them to anchor in that pain. And the more you can get them to bring that to the surface and dwell on it, the more that they're going to be motivated to solving it. So this is where we agitate the problem and get them to anchor in that problem and switch into a buying habit by uncovering the pain and agitating it. All right, so we're going to dig in here a bit and talk about some pains. Now, this isn't just a pain of bills piling up. This is a super common pain that a lot of people deal with for a lot of different problems that you're going to be diving into. So bills piling up could be one. I guess that would be the external problem. Well, no, this is very much is. Let's dig into this deeper. So bills are piling up. Can't feed my kids. Um, Gosh, you can really dig in here. Can't feed my kids. It's going to take me a minute to get into this rhythm. To lose all
Passive income.
the pain. Passive income would be more of a solution. Not having passive income is the external problem to getting that house, maybe. But the pain is emotional. That's why I labeled this emotional pain. So I'm trying to dig in to really get into the deep emotion here. I'm pulling from my avatar worksheet of the things that people are dealing with when trying to get their business off the ground. So do this exercise, really just keep going, item after item after item. Call back, refer back to any situations that you might have had to deal with in that you were going through, that you have some kind of like empathy with your clients to say, yes, I've gone through that. I understand how difficult that can be, and so forth. So really dig into this pain and go as deep as you possibly can, because I've got some examples of where I've seen other coaches just nail it on the head. I saw one for affiliate marketing post an article where he dug in really deep into the pain and said, um, I was trying to figure out what product to pick. I was trying to buying all of these different things. I was crafting offer after offer. I was spamming my link. I was sending out emails. I was doing all of these things, and I can't remember what it was. But the comments were flooded with, "Oh my gosh, that's me. I felt like you were standing over my shoulder. I felt like you were looking through my window. I felt like you just read my diary. Like I'm dealing with those things as well." And so when you trigger that, you're going to create a bond. Okay. So this is what you're trying to do when you're coming up with these answers. Is you want to be able to write articles that touch on all of these really in-depth pains that people are dealing with so that you can trigger them and get them into that buying mood. All right, I'm going to move on here. Fears and worries. Now, it's super easy to get caught in this process. And when you start interviewing your clients, they may get caught into the same problem of getting stuck on the same thing. I was speaking to this girl and asking her, what is the pain that not having clients is causing for you? And she was stuck on, I can't afford the things I want. I can't afford the things I want. And I said, okay, what are your fears or worries? Same thing. She pulled that pain back up. I can't afford the things that I want. Okay, what are your frustrations? I can't afford the things that I want. When is it humiliating? I can't afford, and they're just stuck on it. Okay, so some people might describe those fears and worries, pains, frustrations, humiliation in different ways, and you're going to need to know how to sort those properly in this document. Try not to get caught on those on that yourself and hung up on the same items coming up and up and up again. Pain is one thing. The pain is coming from the external problem. Fears and worries are the ultimate falling off the cliff that the pain is trying to steer them away from. So it's very different. So when we're digging into the fears and worries, a lot of the time, this is, I feel like I'm never going to have this opportunity again, right? That's like, it's over for me. I'm never going to get wealthy. I'm going to go bankrupt and lose everything. I'm going to be living under a bridge. That is the ultimate fear and the ultimate worry that's keeping these guys up awake at night. Okay, it's like that's the paralyzing thought, emotional point that they're getting into. So dig into there, fill it out as best as you can. Next, the frustrations. Frustrations come from them attempting to solve this problem. So every time they go to solve this problem and something doesn't work, they get frustrated. I myself remember when I was programming and making plenty good money, everybody else around me was perfectly fine. But when my wife would ask me questions and interrupt me, and she's trying to work on her business, I would get so frustrated and be like, I'm trying to focus. And it was because I had an ultimate fear and worry, and that was the contract was so big and I was making so much money per month that I was scared out of my mind I was going to lose it. And so I felt that every day I had to accomplish something. And anybody that interrupted me from accomplishing, I would get really, really frustrated if I got out of zone or anything. And so it came out in a frustration. So, what is frustrating your audience, your clients, when they're trying to solve the problem? What's getting in the way and preventing them from solving it? Okay. So, humiliation is them living without their desire. So be able to differentiate all these different things that people are going through. Humiliation, that lady that I was speaking to, and her humiliation, I never heard it before, was I get humiliated when I'm at a store and I can't afford the things that I need. And I'm like, wow, I can totally see that being humiliating when you're in the checkout line and your cards aren't working. So, what is humiliating your audience when they're living in the state of not having their desire? Okay, complaints. This one is a lot of the times when they're in this frustrated, stressful situation. And notice I didn't put stress on this because everything is stressful. The whole situation is stressful. The complaints are there. A lot of times they won't take responsibility for being in the situation that they're in. So they're going to point at other people and they're going to complain about other people. I get a lot of clients who complain about their clients. And I remember a website 10 years ago that was horrible clients or terrible clients or clientsfromhell.com. I think it still probably exists. And it was this situation where everybody was complaining about their client. My clients, they keep wanting to change what kind of website they want. They keep changing the scope of work. They keep trying to change the price on me. They won't get their work done. They won't get back to me with their homework in time, and I can't do my work. Right? So these are the complaints are when what are they complaining about when they're with their friends and family or colleagues that they're pointing responsibility to somebody else. Okay? The next one here is the cost. And this goes back to the niche matrix. What is the cost of the opportunity that they're missing out on? And so what you want to list out here are all of those items that they are missing out on. What are they not? What would the desire help them put them in a place of? So it's the difference of I'm here in the situation, my desire and goals are way out here, and the cost is the gap between them. So list out all of the things that they're missing out on. Is it time with their family? Is it productivity in life towards accomplishing their goals? Is it financial? Is it um, simply that, oh, this could be a big one. If they're in the breakup situation, is it the fact that they want to start a family younger so that they could have energy to play with their kids? Is it that they want to have kids? Is their biological clock ticking? How much would they pay in 10 years if they didn't have a kid? If they weren't in a relationship, how much would they pay to rewind the clock and get pregnant now? That's a huge cost. And that is what's going to price out your offer. So I want to say that one again. If in 10 years they don't have a child, how much would they pay to rewind the clock and get themselves pregnant, or pay for a surrogate mother, or pay for getting injected with an egg, whatever that's called? How much would they pay to rewind the clock? Okay. And you can actually ask them that question. If in 10 years you don't have a kid, how much would you pay now to rewind the clock and get yourself a child now? So those are the kinds of costs that you're selling. And that's what you need to be aware of. A lot of people are not pricing their offers correctly. They come out and say, this is the value I'm providing, and they don't realize the opportunity cost that they're really accomplishing. So list out all of those costs that they're missing out on here. Okay, next one. Urgent and pressing crisis. What severe pain and combined fear is causing all their emotional heartache? What must be solved today so that they can accomplish their desire tomorrow? This right here is what's going to activate your audience. You can capture their attention with all of those other ones. You can bring to the surface that pain. You can remind them of their fears, their frustrations, and their humiliations, and make them take responsibility for their complaints. But it is the urgent and pressing crisis today that is going to get them to take action. The information you plug into the document at this point is what you're going to pull from in your sales copy and get them to reach out to you right now. You being able to solve this is what is going to get them to say, that is an offer that is so good that I want it right now, and I cannot wait until tomorrow because this urgent and pressing crisis. A big thing that I deal with is that people say, I need this and I want this, but my bills are coming to an end. Like, I've got so much money in the bank and I've got bills. And if I spend any of that runway, the runway gets shorter. And so that is the big, urgent, pressing crisis in their life. And so taking advantage of that in a way and saying, I know that my solution is going to work for you. So you can either die a slow death, or you can take action when you have the opportunity right now to take action and bridge over that and overcome that urgent and pressing crisis. That's what you're going to need to find in your life, in their life, is that urgent and pressing crisis that you're going to have to activate. And you're going to need to do it in a way, like I said, it's that they're judging. It's on the scale of like, if I give you my last bit of money, I'm done if this doesn't work. Whereas, because I'm dying that slow death, it's coming inevitably, but I've got that fear of loss, that fear of aversion, right? I don't want to give away that money because I'd be losing something. So they're more scared about giving away that money than they are about receiving the result that's going to solve it. So you need to identify what that is, because you're going to be dealing with it a lot. And after you go through your sales calls, that is a great time to take what you've learned from that sales calls and move it back into this document and say, hey, this is what I dealt with. How do I deal with that in my marketing copy to overcome that? Solutions. What solutions does your buyer think they need? Now, this is going to be a lot the same of the next item in line, and that is prevailing knowledge. It's going to be a lot the same. So, what solutions does your buyer think they need? And this could be go ahead and identify the tactics in this one, not necessarily the strategies. That's kind of the prevailing knowledge. But what are the tactical solutions that people think they need in order to overcome the problems and get to their desire? And I actually want to skip over the prevailing knowledge in this one because it's so important. I want to spend time on the prevailing knowledge, the market gap, and the unique selling point. So I'm going to skip over that now in this video, and we'll hit it in another one. Okay, the why, the and the what. So after you've gone through all of this document and you're out there speaking these items in the real world, how marketing works is that we take all of this information that we've learned and compiled in this document, especially the unique selling proposition here, and we use it to educate, to capture the attention of our audience and move them down the line. Okay, so the why and the what is what they need to do and why they need to do it in order to overcome all of these emotions that they've been dealing with in order to accomplish their desire. We do not teach the how. We want to focus on the why and the what. Okay? All right, moving on. Authority. What authority do you have in this niche? So this comes back to how many customers have you helped solve? How much money have you generated for your customers? How many employees? How long have you been in this industry? What's your legend? How many generations? What's your experience? What authority do you have? How many awards do you have that are prestigious that maybe nobody else has? Go back to figure out what your authority is in this space. And if you don't have it, there's ways to overcome it. But this authority is it's pretty important. So list out all the authority, pull from anything and everything that you have here. Empathy. How do you relate with your buyer? This is going to be an important one. There was a weight loss guy where he was saying, hey, all you guys that are overweight, I'm going to teach you how to become fit. And his audience was responding to him in a very verbal way, saying, how could you possibly know what we're dealing with and tell us that you can get us to becoming fit? You've never worn our shoes. You've never been in our situation. You've always been fit. And so he stopped working out and spent the next year or two eating crap food so that he could become fat. And I think he hit something like 300 pounds or something like that. This big guy, big marketing thing. I'm fat now. And I'm going to show you how to get fit again. And so then he changed and he talked about how he's changing his diet and how he's changing his regimen and his workout schedule and everything about his life. And he became fit again. And his story is literally fit to fat to fit. He's showing, I have empathy. I have lived your life and I can show you how to get out of it. And that's what's carrying him through. That's why he's doing millions today. So what is your empathy? How have you lived and walked a mile in their shoes? And how can you relate with that? We're going to pull from this empathy and eventually craft what's called the epiphany story. And that is where you were living the same life, the same situation that they were, and all of the things that you tried. And when was the tipping point? And then when did you start to scale and pick up speed and momentum towards the desired solution? And now you're living the desires and the solutions. And that's the epiphany template. And so in your empathy, you want to be able to really describe how you were living with them. And this is a real key to when you're writing your messaging and your marketing and telling that story. of other people that were dealing it. And then ultimately, this is the heart of a case study. These are other clients that were also living in the situation that your clients are living in now, and you're going to tell the story of how they got out of it. And they're going to bond with that character to say, okay, you understand me. So, what empathy do you have or can you pull from in order to share with your buyer? All right. In the last part of this document, I actually go over. Um, I actually go over struggles with your offer. You don't need to get into this now, but I wanted to include it in this one document because I didn't want to jump between documents when I was dealing with all of these things in one place. So I've crafted it all into this one emotional workbook. But ultimately, when you do start getting into your offer and trying to sell it, you're going to have a lot of hurdles. Why are your individuals being held back? Like, what's stopping them? Is it financial? Is it paralyzing emotional stress? Is it that they don't have the knowledge that they need? What are the hurdles standing in their way of getting to that desired outcome? What are the benefits of the desired outcome? Everybody's always talking about sell the benefits, not the features, not the features. What are those benefits? Go ahead and list them out here. Whenever you come up with new ideas, include it in this document. This document is going to get huge. What are the objections? When you're on the phone with people, I've heard every kind of objection possible, and I always include it back. And then I craft my sales pitch to overcome every single objection that throughout the process, so that after I'm saying this is what I do and I offer, what questions do you have? The objections are really nullified when you can overcome those in all of your pitch and re-educate your individuals that you're on the phone with. Then you basically can start with a blank slate, and the only question is, how much is it and can I afford it? And that's the ultimate objection you want to get down to. Okay, hesitations. Hesitations are unexpressed objections where they might be like, I've got a business partner, or I think my wife's going to kill me if I pay you this money. What are those hesitations that are stopping them from actually taking the leap with you? And then at the very end, what are the reasons that they ultimately commit to buying with you? And so a lot of times I'll send people to a payment form. Okay, go make your payment here. And then they'll receive a survey on the back end that asks them these questions. How did you feel about my brand when you initially purchased with me? What objections did you have when you were reading through and going through the process of getting to know me? What hesitations did you have? And what's the reason you ultimately commit? I want to know and dig from my audience, constantly re-adding back to this document, even till today, so that I can adapt because times are always changing. Okay, so that's what I wanted to go over. I want to kind of just open up the floor real quick. What questions do you have about that process? Don't touch on the prevailing knowledge or the market gap or the unique selling proposition. But based on the other emotions, what questions do you have about those before we move on?
I was gonna say, like, let's say, because I just pushed like two, like, I guess, discovery calls back. But if, like, when we're done, and should I use the sheet and almost like go down and start at desire and just like kind of talk to them and fill it in and use it as leverage, or
No, you need to know all this before you go into that. So there's a buyer's journey. I'm going to show you this buyer's journey next, and it's going to kind of help everything come to for you. But ultimately, the reason I bring that up is because you're dealing with 5 different stages of the buyer. Okay. And a lot of this information is going to be in the problem stage where they're not aware of a solution. They're not aware that your niche even exists, and they're certainly not aware of you. So you don't need to pull, by the time you're on the phone with them, they're aware of your niche, but not necessarily of your offer. Okay, so they're way down the buyer's journey. So you're not going to need a lot of this at that time. The key things that you're going to be pulling from in that we'll go over when we get to those sales calls, but it's ultimately what's your situation? What's your pain that I can agitate that situation? What's your end goal? And what's the desire that's going to expand that end goal? And you want to create that gap as big as you can on those discovery calls between their current situation and pain and their ultimate goal and desire. And the more you can stretch that gap apart and show them how they're not going to be able to accomplish it on their own and that they need you, that's when you're going to get the sale. So don't pull from this document. You want to have a completely different document to walk through specific questions to get them to answer those. Um, and so then you'll reincorporate those back into this document, but you wouldn't be pulling from this one.